my channel. So today I am going to be doing a little story time for y'all. Disclaimer, what I'm about to talk about is just something that happened to me. I'm not saying this is the way that this business is, but the treatment that I got and the customer service that I received, to me, it didn't reflect the whole institution. But when I did report it, there was nothing done. So I'm not coming at the whole business, disclaimer, but I think there is a lot of flaws that's going on within the institution. That's why I just want to share my point of view and what happened to me. But it's not directly intended to hurt the whole company. So today we're going to be talking about a situation that happened to me 8 months ago. I believe I was either in my first semester. It was like the end of the first semester of my senior year or the end of the second semester of my senior year. I'm not really sure which one, but I do remember me not being an adult. I think I was like either not an adult or like freshly an adult. So I was like either 17 or I had just turned 18. Not that that matters, but to me that was a little bit relevant, and it had to do a lot with the way I reacted to the situation. Cause I reacted a lot different than I would have reacted now. If it were like now, I would have been a lot more assertive than I was when the situation actually happened than I was back then. So basically what happens is it is senior year of high school. So it's about like 8 months ago. It's yeah, senior year of high school. It's senior year of high school, and that's about 8 months from this date or this month. It's about 8 months back. So I have a senior project to do. It is a project where I had to go gather data from my school. So I walked around and I asked people questions. It was a math project for the class I was in. It's called AST, and it is algebra, statistics, and trigonometry. So it was a pretty difficult class, and it was the end of the year project. So I was working really hard, and on top of that, I didn't have a partner because I had a partner, but we had a falling out right before we were going to do the project. So I was basically all on my own, and I was really stressed. So what had happened was I was asking people what was going on, like going around getting my plot points. So I had all my data with me, and I had gone to work on it during the weekend after I gathered all my data for the project. I had all the numbers. So I was going to work on it. I got the mean, median, mode. It was those type of projects where it was like a math project where you had to find the specific population, and then you had to give out the statistics or something like that for each population, give the mean, the median, the mode. You had to like break down the project, break down the numbers. So one part of the project was I had to do a stem plot, and then the next part was I had to do a box and whisker plot. Well, I had done it all. I had done it in Google Drive, Google Chrome. I had done it there, and I needed to go print it out. Now, what had happened was in my house, I do have a printer. Well, back then I had a printer. It was my mother's printer, but her printer was old, and she had a really, really old laptop that she had, and only her laptop was the only laptop in the house that worked with a printer. And I was like, I don't want to go through the hassle of having to find it on your laptop, which is really slow because it's really old, same with a really slow printer, and have to go figure out how I can print my project off, do all that extra stuff. I just want to throw it on a thumb drive and then take it somewhere to get it printed out. Oof. So my mom was like, okay, you sure you don't want me to do it? I was like, no, because last time I asked you to do it, it took a really long time to get you to like to figure out for you to figure out how to make the printer work. So I'd rather just grab my thumb drive, throw everything on it, grab it, and then go take it somewhere. Well, it was very late at night, and she was like, I don't know if anywhere is still going to be open. And I was like, yeah, I get that. I don't know if anywhere's open, but it's due on Monday. I have to have it turned in on Monday. And I want to be like one of the first people to do my project, get it done with, so I can like stop living in this whole drama of like the stress of having to a project that I have due by myself and that I'm racing to get turned in. I just want to turn it in so I can move on in life. So she was like, okay, I get that. I don't know what's open. Check to see if FedEx is open. I was like, oh yeah, we always go to FedEx. Let's just check to see if FedEx is open. So then I check and I'm like, yeah, they're really close to closing. We need to race over there, get the stuff done real quick. She said, okay, I'm gonna throw my shoes on, we're gonna get out the door and don't forget your thumb drive, let's go do it. So we get in the car. By the way, FedEx is really close to our house. So we go to FedEx and we get there with like either 10 to 20 minutes until their closing time. So it was pretty late. It was like maybe 10 o'clock. I can't remember. It was really late at night though, really close for like everybody to shut down, them to turn off their lights. So we were racing in the car and we were going to basically go get that whole thing done. So when we pull up to FedEx, we get out, everything's fine. I go in there and I go stand at the front desk. So the thing about FedEx is they have kiosks and they have front desks. So the kiosk is where you can put your thumb drive in and you can just do it yourself. Well, I didn't specifically know how to use the kiosk and there wasn't that many people there and I didn't want to mess up and then have them charge me like the whatever how many cents it was because I didn't have it like that back then. So I was like, I don't want to mess up and then get charged again because I messed up. So let me just have like somebody actually do it or have somebody help me with the kiosk. Well, there was only one person there. So when I went to the front desk, she was like, "Oh, okay, you know you can use the kiosk, right?" Like she called over from the side where she was standing and she was like, "You know you can use the kiosk, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I know I can use the kiosk. I don't know how to use it." So I was just waiting for somebody to come help me. Like, could you help me? And then she was like, well, there's instructions on the kiosk. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I understand that, but I've tried the kiosk before and I don't know how it works. And I'd like either some help, like you can show me how it works, or I'll just wait till you're done. So then she was like, oh, okay. And then she continued helping the guy with her, the guy that she was working on before. And my mom's over there. She's just looking at stationery and all that. She's looking at their kind of envelope stuff that they have. She was checking it out, and I was just standing in line. Now at this time, I'm like, okay, so she's taking a little bit. Let me just walk around and look at stuff. So I was just looking at stuff, and I was touching stuff, and then I went and I went and I went and I got back in line. So when I went to go get back in line, I stood behind the guy that she was working with, and in that little area, they had like these little like cute toys and stuff like that. They had like little keychain furry things, and I was like touching those, and then I was looking at the pins, and then this is where the story gets like this is where it all goes downhill. Like even though that first encounter that I had with her at the other desk was very rude, I was like, oh, she's busy, obviously, so I wasn't gonna trip over that. Like it wasn't a big deal to me. So while I was like touching the stuff, she's like, "You need to stop because you're being disruptive." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh no, I'm just touching this stuff. I'm just looking at it and all that." And then she was like, "No, but you're being disruptive and you see that I'm trying to work with somebody else. So you can go stand somewhere else." And I was like, "What?" I was like, you're not serious right now, are you?" And I was like, "She can't be serious. I mean, come on." I mean, nobody has this bad of customer service. Like nobody tells a customer that they need to go stand somewhere else and they're being disruptive because it's a store. It's not like that. Usually, I mean, I've worked in customer service and I've never had as bad as customer service as I've had in this situation. And no, 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 it gets worse. She was like, "You can go stand somewhere else." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, because you're being disruptive and you see me over here trying to work with this gentleman. You can go stand somewhere else." And I was like, "No, actually, I'm just gonna stand right here. I'm just standing right here and I'm gonna wait. So you're not gonna tell me to stand somewhere else. I'm gonna stand right here." And then she was like, and she looked away. So then I went and I walked over and I said, Mom, could you come here? And so my mom came to the line and she was like, What? Nori, what? So then I told her what happened. And I told her what happened while I was standing in line. So I was still in the line around the lady who was working there who was being rude. And I was with the guy who was in front of me. I was standing in that same line. And I called my mom over to the line to tell her what happened. And then my mom was like, Wait, she said that to you? And I was like, Yeah. She's like, I need to go stand somewhere else. And my mom was like, Absolutely not. And then while I was telling my mom was like getting madder and madder. She was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? And the lady was like, no, you need to shut up. You need to shut up. Like, you don't understand how bad the customer. I've never ever been told to shut up by somebody who works in customer service. I was like, whoa. Like, I was in such shock. She was like, no, you need to shut up because you don't know what you're talking about. And my mom was like, you didn't seriously tell my daughter to shut up, did you? And then my mom, she just like, mom losed it. Like, my mom cussed her out. Like, she went off on the lady. She's like, no, you don't tell people to shut up. Your customer service is garbage. You're a horrible human being. And then my mom read her name tag. Now, this is where it all gets crazy. My mom read her name tag, and we read her name, and because I'm not one to beat around the bush, and I don't know why YouTubers do this, I don't know if it's to protect people or what's going on, but I have no interest in protecting this lady. So she read her name tag, and her name tag said Jennifer, and below her name tag it said general manager. Now, if you guys don't know, there are two things. There's a regional manager and there's a general manager. The regional manager, they like go and they're like they manage the whole region. So like the region that you live in. So if you live in like Hawaii, the region would be Hawaii. Well, basically, I live in Alaska. So the region that the general manager would work at, no, or the region that the regional manager would work at, they would work at the Alaska region. Well, she was the general manager. So she was the manager of that store. And I was like, whoa. Me and my mom was like cussing her out. And she read her name tag and she's like, whoa, you're the general manager? And my mom just like, she was like in such shock. Like, she just went off. She was like, you're the general manager and you told my daughter to shut up. Like, are you serious right now? Like, you obviously don't care about your job. And the guy in front of us, he was just like he was just dead quiet. And he was just like, this is not good. This is not good at all. So he didn't say anything, but my mom was going off on her. And then she was like, if you don't be quiet, I'm going to call the police. And I was just like, for what? Like, what reason would you have to call the police other than you're being a dick? Like, there's no other thing. And I've never, like, actually, like, hated something so much than like I hated this situation. Like, I don't believe in hate. I don't think hate is cute. I've never hated something so much as I hated this situation. So, or like this business, because no, the story gets worse. Like, I'm not trying to attack this business. I'm sharing what happened to me at this business in my specific region, which is Alaska. I'm sharing what happened, and I'm not trying to attack the business, but best believe like I like it was just I hated it. It was just not good. And I don't hate the institution or I don't hate the company or whatever, but like I'm getting close to. Like, I was like, ooh, I was on the verge because no, this story gets worse. It's a long story and it gets worse. So basically she's like, I'm calling the police. So she finishes up with the guy and she's like, "Oh, so are you ready to come over here and are you ready to get your stuff printed out?" And I was like, "Are you seriously going to continue to have attitude with me?" Like, remember, I was like, "No, because you're still being rude to me." And I was like, that's completely like I was like, "No, we're not going to do that. That's unacceptable. Like, we're not doing it." And I feel like if I was a little bit older or like a little bit older of an adult or had really, because I was young at the time, if I would have settled into my adulthood already, I wouldn't have had to call my mom over to help me out. But I was like in shock. Like, I was in utter shock because I've never had somebody told me to shut up in customer service. Like, me like asking us somebody at a store to help and they've like told me to shut up and stop touching stuff. Like who does that? Like, I mean, ooh, that's weird. So basically after that she like gave me the attitude and she's like, "Oh, so do you still want your stuff printed out?" And I was like, I don't know what to say. Like, she's like, "Okay, well, good, I'm calling the police or you got 2 seconds to get out." And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, we were in here before closing. She's like, it's too late for y'all to be in here, and I'm not helping you because you wouldn't stop touching stuff. You were giving me attitude, so I'm not helping you, so you need to get out. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna get out. And my mom was like, yeah, we're not gonna do that. You can call the police. And then me and my mom were just looking at each other like, what for what reason would she have to call the police for? Like, I was like, yeah, we're not, yeah. I don't know what reason she would have to call the police for. We were in here before closing. It's not like we just pulled up in here and started threatening her or anything like that. Or like we had like knives or guns. It wasn't anything crazy like that. I just needed my stuff printed off because I had my project due. So the lady picked up the phone and she was like, yeah, and they're wearing this and this and this. I need you to come. So then all of a sudden, a guy pulls up, and then we're looking, and me and my mom, we just turn and look. And it's a guy, and he has on boxer shorts, a coat, and like some house slippers. And then he's like, you guys need to get out. You guys have been in here for too long. Aren't they closed? I'm like, who are you, bro? I was like, who are you? But this is where the story gets crazy. So after this whole situation, like, I'm gonna go fade in and out of like present me and like past me. Past me was like, who are you? Present me realized that that was probably her boyfriend. She knew that she had no reason to call the police, and the police never showed up in this situation. So she probably called her man, and her man pulled up in his house slippers and his boxers with his little wee wee and was like, oh, y'all need to get out. They're already closed. You guys need to leave her alone. And we were like, who are you? And then he was like, well, I'm here. So I was just like, okay. So I'm guessing that was her boo, her man, her husband, or whatever, because the police never came. And like the way that she like called the police, and we were like, okay, whatever. She didn't even give the location of where we were at. So I'm like, yeah, this is some bull. Whatever. So basically, after that, she was like, you know what? Just hand me your disk drive and I'll just print off your stuff. So I was like, okay, well, here you go. And then she printed it off, and I was like, all right. And then I just left, and me and my mom left, and we were like, that was absolutely insane. So I can't remember if it was that night or the next night. But the next night, when I had my old Twitter, yeah, I deleted that. So when I had my old Twitter, I went and I tweeted at FedEx what happened. And then they were like, oh my God, oh my gosh. Okay, so, call customer service, we'll handle this. So basically, I did just that. I called customer service. I told customer service what happened and the situation that went down, how she was rude to us, how she told me to shut up, how she told me to get out, how she said she was going to call the police on me, or me and my mom, and how she said that it was too late for us to be in there, even though we showed up late, but it wasn't closed already. And we were just trying to get that last little bit done so we could go home. Like, it really wasn't even that serious. Though I wouldn't have showed up that late if I didn't have to turn that project in. And so I basically called their hotline or whatever, called the customer, like the corporate number. I googled the corporate number, called the corporate number, and they were like, it was like foreign people. You know what I'm talking about? How like they have like a group of people to handle customer service, and then they'll send you to the actual representative. So it was like people in like it was foreign people who like answer the phone. They were like, da 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 da, and they told me what happened. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, we'll handle that. So basically, what happened after that is my case was passed on to a gentleman, and so we talked about the difference between a regional manager and a general manager. He was the regional manager. So he was over all of the stores in Alaska, which I live at. Ugh, gang, gang. But he was over all of the stores in Alaska. So then I talked to him and I was like, oh, this is what happened. He acted like really apologetic. Like he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna go fly to Alaska because I don't live in Alaska. I think he lived in the area where the actual like FedEx corporate was, and so he was gonna go fly down to Alaska to go handle the situation. So he said, "Oh, I'm gonna come to Alaska. I'm gonna handle it. Here's my personal number. We're gonna take care of this. I'm gonna talk to her, and you have this. Here's your case number. Something, something." His name was Joseph, and I'm not one to be hiding names, to be blurring names, or anything like that. I'm not. This is his actual name. I've only stated actual names because I'm not one to beat around the bush. Take it or leave it. Y'all can like it or not. I'm not in the business of protecting people who obviously don't really care about being protected, because if they would have cared about that, they would have kept their mouth shut. So basically, I talked to him and he was like, "Yeah, we're going to handle it." So a couple of weeks went by and I was still like following up with him. He answered my phone call one other time, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be going in the month of whatever. I think it was like July or something. I think this by this time summer had started. I'm not really sure what time period it was, but he said he was gonna be going in a specific month and that he would get back to me and that he would talk about it with me." So that month rolls around and I call, and then he just never picks up the phone again. Like never. Like he dead. Like he didn't even answer one of my like any of my phone calls. He like legit like it's like almost like he fell off the face of the earth. And I'm like, so what's going on with my customer service case? Like, y'all just did you just disappear? So I'm like, wow, I'm really out. Like it's just over. And I was like really upset about the whole situation. And I'm like, this is just garbage. I can't believe that this actually happened. And that she would like that not only was it the general manager who was being the actual general manager, the one Jennifer, the one who like, "Oh, I'm gonna call the police on you. Oh, you need to shut up." Not only was it Jennifer, the general manager who was being a douche, it was also the regional manager who didn't even follow up on the case. He didn't follow up. He didn't say what happened. He didn't he didn't give me any resolution. So I was basically like, "Oh, okay, well, it's gonna be one of these situations. I'm just gonna let it go. I'm just gonna, it's whatever." Well, a little bit later, I needed to print something out again. Now we're moving into like this is the continuation of this story. I needed to print something out again, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So I need to print something out again, and I need somewhere to go. I always go to FedEx, so let me go back to FedEx. But I went to a different FedEx. Now, I didn't want to go to the one that's really close to my house, like right around the corner from my house, down the street and around the corner from my house. I went to the one on the other end of town. I wasted the gas or whatever. I had my mom waste the gas. I was like, it's whatever. I went in there and guess who happened to show up? Yep, yep, yeah, the little snake, Jennifer. Jennifer shows up. She walks in with her husband and all that. And she just comes up to me and she's just so sweet. She's just like so nice and like she's smiling when she walks in. Then she like walks around the corner and all that. She comes in with a cake and all that. That's what I was trying to figure out. Like, she's a general manager of that FedEx. Well, apparently it was somebody at the other FedEx's birthday. This is me connecting the dots. Like one of her employees or one of the people from a different store that she's friends with. So she comes in with her husband. She drops the cake off. She's like smiling and acting so nice. And then eventually she leaves. And my mom was like, like my mom was not having it. Like the second like she came out, my mom was gonna pop off on her again, but she never came out of the back room of the new the different FedEx, the one across town that we went to, where we saw her again. So she never came out of that back room. My mom was gonna pop off on her again, but she never came out, and then we just left. So it was like whatever. It was like the situation was deaded. It was over. I was like, yeah, you don't really need to say anything to her again because it's obvious there's not going to be any resolution. We already contacted customer service. We did the right thing. We went to corporate. Corporate didn't do anything. Corporate doesn't care. It's obvious that they don't care or else they would have handled it. And that's where my beef was at. My beef really wasn't with her because, general managers aren't beyond being douchebags. They're not beyond being like garbage. So she was being garbage, but I was really expecting corporate to handle it, like corporate customer service. Joseph, that was the the regional manager. I was expecting Joseph to handle it, but he never handled the situation. He never followed up. He never handled it. He was just like whatever. He didn't really care, and so that's where my beef was. So basically, after that, I was like, nope, I'm buying my own printer. I have a really nice printer now. Let me show you guys. It's right there on my desk. Ooh, cotton balls. But there's my printer. It's a really nice HP Office Jet printer, if you guys can see it. I hope you guys can you see it? Yeah, it's a really nice Office Jet printer. And I went out and I got myself a printer. And it works really well with my new laptop that my mom bought me for starting college. And so basically that was basically what happened. That was literally the worst customer service I've ever received. I've never received like I've received bad customer service, but it was never to the point of like insulting, like me getting insulted as a customer, because that was like shocking. She was like, "No, you need to shut up." And I was just like it's never been to that point. It's always been like I'm standing in a line, they don't say anything, I just wait in the line and they act like I don't exist, or they mess up and they like send something to the wrong place. It's always been like little issues like that. But this was like, it was completely crazy. After that, I never went back to FedEx. Up until the point that I did get that printer that I just showed you guys, I started going to Office Max and Office Depot. They were super sweet. There's always somebody standing back in the area, and there's always enough people back there to the point where I never have to wait on them. So, and if I ever do have any problems with this new printer, I would always go back to Office Max and Office Depot, and I would never return back to FedEx after what happened, because to me that situation hasn't been resolved, so there's really no point in going back. I see no point in visiting back to that location, back to any other location or anything like that. Office Max and Office Depot, that was a good switch up, even though it's a little bit farther. That was a really great switch up for me. They print my stuff out. I've never been insulted by any of their customers, or any of the people that worked in customer service. There's always somebody standing back there. There's always enough people. They never tell me, "Oh, you need to go over there and use a kiosk. You can do this by yourself." They're always really eager to help out, and that's something I really appreciate. And that's a nice change from the situation that I was at with FedEx. So I think that's about it. The last thing I'm gonna say, like I've been saying the whole time, this video isn't exactly like, it's not directed at anybody at FedEx or who does work for FedEx. I'm just sharing my experience with the worst customer service that I've ever had. I will never return to FedEx, and honestly, at this point, it's been like that was like 8 months ago. I don't want an apology from FedEx. I don't want to receive an apology from FedEx. I've been apologized to. I want like actions. Apologies are great, I'm telling you, but actions would have been better. Them to go talk to her, them to tell her that it wasn't okay. I really don't care about her getting fired, because I mean, it's not that serious. I mean, if that was me working in customer service, or if I was the regional manager of that location, I would have fired her, because you never tell any kind of customer to shut up. Even when I was working in customer service, we know that you don't insult customers, no matter how bad they try to pull you out of out of character, no matter how much they get on your nerves. You never like insult customers. You never say anything disrespectful to customers. And I didn't insult her first. I didn't tell her that like she needed to hurry up or anything like that. I was just touching stuff and like walking around talking to my mom, touching stuff, standing in line behind the guy. So I really expected positivity or something. I didn't expect the reaction that I got out of her. I didn't expect a reaction to begin with. So I was just threw for a loop with that whole situation. I really appreciate you guys watching the video. Thank you so much. Don't come for FedEx. It's not like that. Honestly, I don't want any kind of apology from FedEx. The situation is over. They had the chance to fix it when they had the chance to fix it, and they decided not to. And that's where my issue was. That's where my issue is, and that's where my issue was, and that's why I'm never returning. But I basically just made this video to share with you guys that like it's really bad. Like sometimes, and I don't know if it's just Alaska or if it's like places around the world, but I feel like it was mainly an Alaska thing, that she thought that she had the audacity, or she thought she could get away with being as disrespectful to me as she was and as rude to me as she was. I think it's because Alaska isn't a part of the connected United States, so even like the regional manager had to fly to Alaska to go handle the situation, which he said he handled, or which he tried to like pretend like he was going to handle after not calling me or not saying anything about it, or like completely like not losing contact with me, acting like I didn't exist, falling off the face of the earth. like he had to fly to Alaska to handle it. So that's why I feel like a lot of businesses in Alaska do feel like it is okay for them to be disrespectful to customers, act really rude to customers, and that's really not something that I'm gonna stand for. That's not something that I like. So I will like quickly find an alternative to some place that I like to go if I do get bad customer service, whether it is one time, whether it's like just immediately I would just I'm not going back. Especially when I call on that specific business, that specific company, FedEx, especially since I called on FedEx to handle it. That's why I'm never going back. I'm never going back to FedEx. I would prefer if the places I order from wouldn't have anything shipped through FedEx because I don't want any kind of connection, any kind of contact with them. I don't want an apology from them. Sorries are over. I'm good. Well, the ending was a little long. Thank you so much for watching the video. I'm sorry to bring all this like negativity. I just want to share this with you guys so that you guys just know the situation that I had to go through. I don't know if anybody can relate to this. Comment down below if something similar has happened to you, or comment down below your worst customer service experience with somebody giving you customer service. Share down below what your worst customer service experience was, because I really want to read them, because I swear, like, some people, they just, like, they have, like, really bad, like, some businesses have really, really horrible customer service. The people they hire are garbage. So I want to hear about it down below, and then also you can comment how you felt about this situation, because when you work in customer service, you have no right to talk to a customer like that. So comment what you thought about it. I do feel like there's some things I could have done differently. One with the way I reacted. I really wish I would have stood up for myself more. And then again, honestly, I really wish I just wouldn't have stood in that line, even though that's the line that she was working at. I just wish I wouldn't have stood in that line because, like, it wasn't my fault, but I don't like those kind of interactions with people. It like eats at me for like a really long time. When like, and it feels like you know when you've been done wrong or you've like been through a situation where you could have like stood up for yourself and you could have like been like you're not gonna be like that to me, and you didn't. So like it'll eat at you. So thank you guys, I love you guys. We finally hit 10 subscribers, but we are at 11, which is great. I really appreciate all you guys who comment. That's something that I love reading them, I love loving them, I love hearting them. I want you guys to have a beautiful, beautiful day / night. Bye.